Hello, everyone. It's Yogi here. I hope you're well. Yes, this is our double stream Saturday. Okay, yesterday I was absent. Yes, I had a night out with Mr. Yogi. We had a good time. Okay, and so thank you for all your lovely kind wishes. Yes, it was a little bit overdue. So, yes, I was feeling a little bit guilty about that. So today we're coming back for two streams. Okay, so the plan today is going to be we are doing the WIP Parade today. Okay, this is my second WIP Parade. If you were there for the last one, I'll give you a little recap as well. And then we have a little break. Okay, and we do our Amy Stewart style. How does that sound as a plan? I think it sounds pretty exciting. Hanging out with Yogi on a Saturday is the best. It's probably nice, quite cold outside, and just snuggle up and have a hot drink. I've got my coffee ready, and we're going to hang out, and I'm going to talk you through, my hate rabbit hole. Okay, so this is going to be my focus today. And I have no script, no plan. I just, kind of organize my projects together. I'm going to talk you through as I remember. Okay, so precision is not my forte. You probably know by now. And I just, going to talk you through as if you were here right here with me. Okay, so welcome everyone, and let's just have a little look at the chat to see who have we got here today. And well done making for making it for with the first stream, because some stitchers, they kind of they know the regular streams happen at a certain time, and they don't always realize we have the we do double stream from time to time. Okay, so well done for being here. And so the first, oh my goodness, Sarah is here. See what we've got here. Seek steadiness, stability, and tranquility. Sounds like a yoga practice there. But for Sarah, it involves a glass of milk and some cookies. Sounds good. And we know Sarah is a king baker. And so the cookies will have to be very delicious, quite delicious. Thank you, Sarah. A piece of wisdom from Sarah. And we have Busy Mum as well. Well done. And hello, everyone. Busy Mum says hello to everyone. And we also have our Maddie as well. Yes, hello, everyone. And we have Kelly here and Maddie. And who else? We got Samantha is also here. And first wants to report to the chat, and Handmade Heaven as well. And who else have we got? Oh, Heather is also here as well. Turtle Stitcher, how nice to have you. And from nice and early here. And let's have a look. Jackie is here as well, and Ligda, and I see you, Jackie. And Karen Sutherland is also here with us. BLT, our Betty Lou Taylors, and Suzanne, of course, yes. And Anna is also here in the chat as well. Clara, and also, from Iceland, we have a new friend. I am not going to attempt to pronounce it. I see Bjork. Yes, from Iceland. Yes, Bjork is from Iceland as well, a singer. Do you guys remember? And is it Erla? Erla Bjork. Lovely name, lovely name. And Natalia as well. How nice to see you. And Ruby Rose is also here. And Stacy as well. Guys, thank you for being here with me. If I missed you on the chat, I'll come back to say hello, or just give me a little wave, okay? So, last session, I think if I remember correctly, okay, I ended somewhere around here with this piece. So last session, I talked to you about how I got to even to have the courage to stitch 25 counts, and how I went about sort of training myself, my eyes and everything else, to come to stitch 25 counts. And this was the piece the pattern that I use to kind of arrived here. Just to give you a quick recap here, okay? So this piece, let me just bring on this one. This is grandma's attic here. And so I used this piece to test on various fabric counts and finally had the courage to tackle 25 count a second time, because this first time I had a terrible time stitching it. So, you know, I'm glad I didn't give up. I just kind of trained myself for my eyes to get used to the fabric, to be able to reel the fabric. So, let's come back here. So this is my maybe the third, maybe the fourth, I cannot remember, attempt. And this time around, I started from the center. So this is where I am, okay? And I think that's how we ended last time with part one. So from this point on, I was pretty much obsessed with Heaven and Earth. To be honest, Heaven and Earth represents how do I put it? Full coverage, really. So my obsession was really with the full coverage pattern, because up to this point, I was doing totally different types of pattern, you know, dimensions, kit, etc., as I show in the last section there, the part one there. And then, so from this point on, I was looking around trying to find full coverage patterns, and before so at this point, I was, you know, properly in the rabbit hole of Heaven and Earth, and also full coverage as well. And in the process, I was watching this, let me just zoom in a little bit so you can appreciate the stitches here. And I discovered this channel called, I think is Smile, Cross Stitch Smile. Cross Stitch Smiles, yes, because Smiles is actually the couple's surname. So they're a UK couple, and they have this lovely channel. And I you know, started watching them. And this lady, I think her name is Jessie. If it's incorrect, I apologize. I watched her stitching patterns from a company called Gecko Rouge, and I had to know, and I had a browse, okay, and kind of regretted it. And so I came across Gecko Rouge through them, because this lady was she's got tons and tons of Gecko Rouge kits. I don't know how she can afford it, okay, but you know, she's got many kits from them. So I went for a browse, and lo and behold, okay, I fell into a slightly different rabbit hole. It is still within the full coverage realm, but I discover, let me put it aside, okay, so I've got a label here. This is my Gecko Rouge project, and if you've been following the channel, you probably have seen me stitching the Gecko Rouge piece. And I actually had a stream basically telling you what happened to this piece from the beginning. But today, I'm going to give you a short version, okay? So let me just show you my markup here. I keep bringing this up. Yes, okay. I found this pattern. So this pattern is by Colin Thompson. And this was back in the end of 2022, sometime there, very close to Christmas and New Year as well. And I found this pattern, okay, if you've been to Gecko Rouge channel, national channel, the company, you know they specialize in cross-stitching kits. And they do not do patterns. I think once upon a time they used to do patterns, but they kind of changed the direction. Now they only do stitching kits. And so when I found them, I fell in love with this piece. I kind of kept looking at it and going, fantasize in my mind what it will feel like stitching it. But I didn't go for it for probably a month because of the price. Okay, so guys, if you have Gecko Rouge projects, you know, even the regular size, quite small in Heaven and Earth standard, it's about, you know, you're probably paying minimum £70 British pounds to start with, to get you know, even smaller pieces. And this piece is super size. It's beyond super size. They have a category of their website is called oversize, meaning it's like just huge. And I found this piece here and really wanted it. It was haunting me in my dream, and but the price was so high. So this piece, eventually I went with it. It was, I'm trying to think, including post and packaging and the shipping. I had to pay for the full shipping as well, even though I live in London. This is a UK company, okay? I paid for the kit, an entire kit, I think it was over £500, £520, something like that, £30. And the kit includes the pattern, of course, a digital pattern or paper pattern, your choice, and all the floss that you need. They're very generous with the floss. And then you've got the fabric as well. So this fabric was the original fabric. You can choose between 25, I think 20, 28. I'm not sure if there are other choices. I don't think you can go lower than 25 because the size, because of the size of the pattern is absolutely huge. And if you, just to give you some idea here, this is larger than the super size Heaven and Earth pieces. So it's huge, and it's very, you know, it costs a little bit of money. And if you think back at that time, it was the end of 2022. We're still very much, you know, in a COVID situation, and in the UK as well. We have probably, in London in particular, we probably have 3 lockdowns. And end of 22, we're still deeply, you know, deep in the lockdown situation. And everybody's just, you know, losing their mind, trying to find things to occupy their lives. And a lot of people probably found new hobby as well. And at that time, my justification was, I don't do anything extravagant. And also I was stitching so much at that time. I was just thinking this is an investment of a lifetime. Okay, so I went for it at the end. So when I got it, it was the beginning of 2023. So I found a pattern, I ordered it around Christmas, New Year time, 2022. And it took, you know, a week or two to arrive. And so I got it in the beginning, January of 2023. And so I got this piece, and I started to, when I first got this piece, I'm really glad that I measure the fabric here, because the fabric was actually incorrect. The top and bottom has proper margin, but the size didn't have the correct margin. It was cut right down to the size of the piece. So I'm glad I measured it. So this is, you know, a cautionary tale. Always measure the fabric when you get it. And so I contacted them, and they came back to me right away, really apologetic, and, you know, sent me a new fabric. So I had ended up with a free piece of quite large 25 count fabric as a result. And they let me keep the original one, and they sent me a new one. So I started stitching right away. Okay, I was totally obsessed. This is the beginning of 2023, and I was, you know, I started from the upper left here. So this is literally the first stitch I made. I'll try to zoom in here. Let me come in here a little bit. So I started from upper left. So these colors, I have really sort of a lot of memories, because I remember at that time I was just so happy. I was so happy I finally got this, you know, kit of my dream, and it cost a lot of money. Okay, I put a little bit of my saving in there, and because I think it was worth it. Sometimes it's just one of those things. And I started here from the upper left. And I'll come back to the chat in a little bit, okay, if you have a question. And and I started from upper left here and start stitching. I think the method of my choice at that time was block by block. Color completion, I think, block by block. That was my sort of the first parking method I learned, and I was obsessed with it. You know, everything is diagonal, block by block, one block at a time. So I started here, and you know, gradually moving, and sort of stitch by stitch. And even though some areas are very confetti, and you know, I went through it like a soldier. If you know me, well, if you found the channel, doesn't have to be recently. If you've been following the channel, you know that you know, I change my project every day, and I switch around. But that was because of my experience of this piece. Okay, so when I got this piece in the beginning of 2023, I literally, every waking moment, other than eating and doing things I had to do, I was stitching this piece. And I did this. So let me just show you what I've got up to this point. Okay, and this is, I went from here diagonally and moving down, and you can see it's very, very intricate, and there's some very, very confetti area here. So I stitched this piece really every day. Very occasionally I might, you know, go and stitch something else for a little bit, but for 6 months, I was, you know, deep in this this piece. I was totally obsessed. I was moving bit by bit. I think I started with parking method, block by block, but eventually I discovered mini cross country. So at this point, I was still learning how to stitch full coverage, you know, complete beginner. Even though now I'm still learning new things from you every day. But at that time, I was, you know, looking up and down on YouTube, try to find different ways of stitching full coverage, and try to find my way here, actually. So I think maybe up to this point, so I went diagonally, sort of block by block, parking. And then I came across very, very confetti area. I still remember this block, you know, let me zoom in here. Just look at the color changes. So the Gecko Rouge way of charting is, there are areas, for instance, this birdhouse here, I think that's what it is. There's some solid colors through and through. You know, this area is the same color. A lot of stitches of the same colors. It's not shine about that. There's no blending, very little blending. And but when it comes to confetti, it's brutal. And when I get to this area, and I decided I need to find a different ways of stitching, because I was losing my mind with confetti. So I decided to give cross-country a try. Up to that point, I never done cross-country, you know, and I had to learn in terms of, you know, where do I take my stitches to. And at that time, I was doing kind of very short distance mini cross-country and parking at the same time. So I was combining with those two because I just love parking, you know. And I can see some new friends joining us. We've got Rajal and Galen as well, and Six is also here. I know I'm a terrible host, isn't it? I haven't said hello to everyone, and Rachel, but I can see you in the chat. Okay, and I'll come back to address you in a bit. And so I don't lose the train of thought. My memory is not the best. And so I just want to talk you through, what happened then. And so I discovered cross-country method and tried it. So I was doing very short distance mini cross-country and parking at the same time and tackle bit by bit. Okay, I still remember how brutal this bit was. And so I went on, I stitched this piece every single day, I'm pretty sure, for about 6 months. And I probably got to, let me zoom out a little bit. I think when I hit the 6 months mark and I, look back, I didn't realize I was stitching, this piece solely for that long, because I woke up every morning, I just wanted to stitch it, move it a little bit further. I think I was maybe around here. I'm trying to think. When I hit the 6 months mark, I was, the birdhouse was done, I think, and little dog here, another bit of the very confetti area here. Look at this. This is no joke, okay? If you think about confetti, this is probably as brutal as it gets with this bit. Let me just zoom in a little bit. And it's a very interesting pattern. And so I think I was probably about, when I hit 6 months, I was probably around here. The birdhouse was mostly done, and maybe a little bit of this weird doe face here, probably somewhere about here. And then I hit a wall. Yes, I just woke up one morning. I realized I couldn't even pick it up. I didn't even want to look at it. And I felt sick in the stomach. I didn't know what was going on, even though my body was saying, yes, I want to stitch. But I looked at this piece. I couldn't even look at it. And that's when I realized I hit plateau with this one. I really did. It was a big brick wall. So I realized what happened, because I was so obsessed with this piece, but at the same time, the way I was stitching, I was staring this portion of the fabric solidly for 6 months. Just imagine that. Every day I wake up, I was looking at this for 6 months. So my brain was just saying, no, no, no more. And so that day, the fateful day, I can't remember when that was. So we're talking about maybe somewhere toward the summer of 2023, I just couldn't even look at it anymore. And I put it aside. I was feeling a little bit upset, because I thought, well, what do I do? I have this sinking feeling when I look at it, but I wanted to stitch. So I think when I hit that wall, I remember I probably didn't stitch for about, I don't want to say a month, but at least 3 weeks, something like that. I was trying to figure out what happened. And at the same time, as you can imagine, I invested quite a lot of money in there. I was feeling guilty as well. I felt like I'm supposed to love it so much. I want to keep stitching. But I, somewhere in parts in me just going, no, I can't take it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I think half-heartedly, I probably tried to stitch other pieces, but I just couldn't get into it. I just hit that plateau, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Some of you probably mentioned, I remember very, very often in chats, you guys talk about, kind of losing that desire to stitch for whatever reason, either, I don't know. It could be just because you're doing very similar things every day. Eventually, the body is going to just go, nah, no more. I need a change. So for about a few weeks, I didn't stitch it. And I want to come back to this piece, okay? So I parked this piece for a few weeks, feeling guilty at the same time, fighting with the guilt. And then I discover another pattern, okay? And I'll come back to this piece and tell you what happened to this piece. Some of you might know already, but you know, I want to just give you, just put a bookmark there, and I'll show you what happened, the next pattern I discovered. So I was kind of in this crisis, okay, with the Gecko Rouge piece, which it's supposed to be the pattern of my life, and I just couldn't even look at it anymore. I didn't want to look at it. I was feeling sick in the stomach, and I discovered this piece. And before I show you what this piece is, I just want to have a look at the chat and just catch up, just in case you have questions, okay? And we have Lizzie here as well, and Scribe, hello, yes, and good stuff, good stuff, Ninja, yes. Welcome. And if you have a question, maybe put a question mark or exclamation mark, so I know it's a question. Otherwise, you know, I'll just treat it as a chat between you guys. And Janine has joined us as well. How lovely. And then, yes, and then I found this piece. Let me show you which piece this is. Okay. So I went from this piece, got really sick of it. And then I found this one. Dun, dun, dun. This might look familiar to you, but it looks a little bit different. And this is because this is a quick stitch version of the chart. And this piece is by Amy Stewart. I'm trying to think if this was my first Amy Stewart. No, the Grandmom's piece was the first Amy Stewart piece. And this may be the second one. I can't remember the sequence, because sometimes I buy the charts, but not working on them straight away. And so I found this piece, okay? And this is called Little Cake Shop by Amy Stewart. Isn't that just adorable? But this is a quick stitch version. So when I discover this piece, I wasn't too sure that I was capable to do the full size. So I think this one I may have bought before the full size, the Grandma aesthetic with the rocking horse that you saw earlier on. But I did not touch it until I hit the plateau with Gecko Rouge, and I decided to start this piece. Okay, so this is my the first attempt stitching Little Cake Shop. I actually went for the quick stitch. It looks nice and sweet, and at that time, you know, I was just trying to find the stitching passion back, and so I decided to go for this piece. And so this is what happens. Okay, let me just open this one. So at that time, I'm trying to think, because I kind of saw this piece, the quick stitch piece, as a reset, kind of palette cleanser for me to recover from the trauma of stitching 6 months solidly let me just make sure I show you in the right order. Okay, so I see this piece as a kind of palette cleanser. So so I was I kind of went into the piece, not taking it super seriously. I just wanted to have some fun. And because you guys know, DMC is quite expensive in Europe and in the UK as well. So I decided to stitch on a 25 count fabric. Okay, so this was probably left over from my first attempt of trying to stitch 25 counts. I started with non-gridded fabric, had a terrible time, and decided to go for this kind of gridded version. I learned that you can get those gridded version, and it helped tremendously. But having stitched the gridded version for a little bit, I felt maybe I can come back to the non-gridded version. Maybe I'll, do better this time. And also on top of that, I decided to stitch with CXC instead, because I went in, kind of go, well, I'll see how it goes. So I didn't want to use DMC. Okay, I was like conserving my DMC. And so I stitched this piece, 25 count, 1/1 with CXC. And I went from upper left, of course. That was my new thing to do, because up to the full coverage, I was doing center start all the time. I was taught to do center start through and through. And when I discovered I could start from the corner, I went for it. Every piece was from upper left, which is my, it's the most intuitive corner. And I stitched with CXC and I loved it. I loved it. I still remember the joy, and I was so happy because I was trying to gain the passion back. And I think this piece really cured me from, from the sort of plateau, was because, first of all, I was stitching with a different type of thread, because with Gecko Rouge, it's DMC. There's a certain, the stitching experience is different, definitely. If you never tried, if you've only stitched DMC through and through, I would suggest, I'll recommend trying different type of thread, different brands, maybe Egyptian cotton or CXC if it's available where you are, or just different brand. It's a different stitching experience, and CXC is very really soft. It's almost like stitching with kind of slightly fluffy, I don't know, cotton buds. It feels very, very soft and comforting, and also it's very colorful, and it's non-gridded fabric as well. So I think the fix for me was the sort of, changing the stitching experience, whereas, I was doing the Gecko Rouge piece for six months, doing the same thing every day, really, essentially. And so this piece, I remember how much I enjoyed it, to the point, guys, this is a quick stitch version, right? As I remember when I was stitching this, my mind was, I was worried. I was going to complete it too soon because I loved it so much. I didn't want it to stop. I was worried I was going to stitch too fast. I know you're laughing now, okay? just refer to the channel name, okay? I was worried. I was worried that I was going to finish it too soon because I didn't want it to end. And the method of choice, yes, I was doing block by block, of course. That's my go-to method. Block by block, color completion, block by block, diagonal. And when I got to this point, okay, you might be thinking that you love it so much. How come you only done this little bit? So with this bit, I was stitching. And, oh, hello, Jody. Jody, great to see you. Oh, Jody. Jody has a question. Let me just quickly. Jody says, what's the difference between quick stitch and regular? It's smaller and easier to stitch. That might be a good start for me. Yes. Oh, hang on, Jody. Okay. Yes. Quick stitch is a heaven and earth term, okay? It's heaven and earth specific. So what it is, if I show you this one, okay, it might be useful if I show you what it is. And I'm, so this is the quick stitch version. This is actually a crop from the full size. Okay, so when you look at the quick stitch on heaven and earth, all of them are basically a cropped out area of a full size version. So the full size, let me show you this one, okay? I was going to show you in a little bit. This is the full size. This is a full size. You've probably seen me stitching this one before. So the quick stitch version is a cropped out area about the center. And where they crop out from the full piece, I think is up to the person requesting it. So if you're not familiar with Heaven and Earth, they, the customers, you can go to them, you can look at whatever chart they've got there. And a lot of times there will be other variations, different versions, you know, quick stitch and regular size, super size, etc. But if there isn't one that you want, you can request and you have to pay them a fee and they chart it for you. And then they put it on their website and sell it to others. So that's how they work. So a quick stitch version is a cropped out version that's requested by the requesters. You know, you might go, well, I would like to focus the piece around the two heart-shaped chair. I think that's probably how the conversation went. And can you chart that for me? And, you know, Heaven and Earth, they chart it accordingly. So that's it. But in terms of what Jody says, okay, Jody says it's smaller and easier to stitch. No, so that depends. It could be. So quick stitch could come in a couple of different versions, or 3 versions, or more versions really. You can have color variations, a number of colors. So this one, I think is, I'm trying to think, I think this may be max color. I think this is a max color version. Okay, I like my max color from that point. And you can have a regular color as well. But also in terms of the size, recently I just found out there's a super size version of this chart that, you know, quick stitch version. So you can supersize it. And I think this one, if I remember correctly, I can't remember who's stitching this one. Is it Jackie? And yeah, it's a Jackie stitching this one. Supersize, it's got over 1 million stitches. So it really depends. If you want to go small, the mini is probably actually smaller size chart version of the chart. Quick stitch, not necessarily. And I can look up the number of stitches on this one later on for you, but this is a cropped out version, and I think Heaven and Earth, they've got their own, you know, systems to work out what would be the standard size of quick stitch. They might have that. So this is that piece. So as I was saying, I was loving it so much. I could cry literally. And also I was so happy that I was, you know, the passion was coming back. And I felt so happy stitching again. You know, I remember thinking, oh, let's not stitching it too fast. Okay, let's savor every single stitch because it feels so good. So you might be wondering why I stop here. Okay. The reason being, for whatever reason, I cannot recall, I decided to stitch it on, oh, I remember now. So this piece I was stitching with CXC, right? I decided I want to do it properly, okay? In my mind, DMC is properly, it's kind of for sort of, you know, pieces are more proper. Because I loved it so much, I decided to do it, have a restart with DMC. So this is what happened, okay? So I had the spare fabric from Gecko Rouge, you know, a large piece of gridded 25 count from Gecko Rouge, because they measure my fabric incorrectly, as I said earlier on, and they sent me a new one, but I get to keep the original one. So I have a bit of fabric to play with. So I decided, so this is CXC, I decided to do it with DMC. And on gridded fabric as well. I thought maybe it's gonna, you know, be easier to stitch as well. So this piece, identical corner. Okay, I decided from the upper left, but this one is I started a stitch with, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Yes, with DMC. The one on the right is DMC. And I have to say, CXC is doing a really great job because, to be honest, if I didn't tell you, you probably can't tell the difference. I know people go on and raving about DMC colors, and they are beautiful, but CXC is not doing too badly. Can you tell the difference? I can't really. I can tell the difference when I stitch because the thread for CXC threads feels a little bit more fluffy, softer. I love it actually, and DMC is really nice as well. And but in terms of the colors, the tones, and everything, I can't tell the difference. Maybe tiny bit. You know, this bit, these colors are a little bit darker, marginally. Okay, so I had a restart after parking this piece and started with DMC. And you might go, well, why did you stop? You loved it. You restarted it. This is a second attempt, you know? And that's because Jody says, Yogi, I feel you on restarting piece to get them right. I did that with a project as well called a Skiff. My first full coverage piece, I started it on gridded, smaller fabric. I know, because I loved it so much. I thought, well, you know, I want to stitch it properly, quote unquote. And, you know, I restarted it and I enjoyed it. And I actually went a little bit further. So just to show you a little bit further, okay, with this piece. And then, of course, you can tell I did not continue. And that's because I loved it so much. I gave it away there, okay? I decided to go for the full version because I loved it so much. And I thought, well, I can't settle with quick stitch because quick stitch is not a full piece. I just have to do it properly, even more properly this time. And so I went for the full size and max colors, of course. Yes. And you probably seen me stitching this piece, okay? And I'm a lot of times, you know, well, all the time really, when I stitch this piece, I got it framed and around the hoops. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's released from the hoops. Okay, let me show you this. So let me put this away. I'll put it aside. And with a full size, this is what it looks like. Up to this point, okay? So even a few days ago, I was working on this piece. So you saw me stitching cakes, right? Yes, Jody, I know. You know what it's like, right? And, you know, if you want to do it properly, you've got to do it full size, okay? Maybe the next version, I'm going to move up to super size. So let me zoom out. I know, you know what it's like. I think many of you probably gone through similar things. You know, you go in and thinking, I'm going to do a mini, or maybe I'm going to do a regular color. And as you're stitching it, you go, no, I want more. So this is what happened there. And of course, upper left start, it has to be. And so I got a full size. And again, I think this piece might be from the leftover from Gecko Rouge as well. You know, I blame Gecko Rouge because I don't normally have, I don't normally keep spare fabric. One reason is I don't know what size I need to get unless you get like an entire roll, okay? And also, you know, I change the stitch counts, the fabric count from time to time based on different projects. So I don't have kind of a stash of fabric that ready for me. So if I want to start a new piece, I have to wait. I have to order the fabric and think about what fabric count. But at that time, I've got a huge piece of 25 count from Gecko Rouge. So, you know, I personally blame them. So immediately, of course, I grabbed the fabric and I started stitching. And this is where I am really. So I'm trying to think, if I started the previous pieces, okay, these two starts here, around summertime of 2023, I probably spent a couple weeks stitching these and then decided to go for the full version. So this is probably summertime, 2023, around there. And I started from upper left, and I knew, you know, when I saw the full pattern here, you know, it's a slightly different start, because with the quick stitch, instantly I'm in the cake zone, you know, it's everything that's exciting. Well, not saying the remaining part is not exciting, you know. Quick stitch, the great thing about it is kind of a highlight of a piece, the most juicy part of a pattern. Okay, you can look at it that way. And so I started off with, you know, some cakes and stuff like that and a lot of colors. But with the full version, you know, I have to be patient, because I'm starting from the wall and the ceiling. Okay, and even though it's really pretty, you know, the pink stripy area and stuff like that, it's really exciting, but a lot of ceiling to go through. Okay, if I'm stitching from upper left and follow the order, it's going to take me a little while to get to the actual cakes. Okay, and if you guys have been following the recent streams, you know I'm actually stitching the cake for the first time over here. So recently, the most recent session, I was stitching this area. Okay, it's very exciting, but this is the first cake I've been stitching for this piece, and yes, so I started off from the upper left here. And again, I think I can't recall, but I'm pretty sure I started with block by block, block by block parking. Okay, so my pattern at that time was starting point upper left, okay, and block by block parking until I get bored. Then I switch to mini cross country and parking at the same time. I was parking through and through. It took me a little while before I stopped parking, because I really enjoy parking, and it kind of makes sense to me, because you have the thread there for you at the next spot. And I think gradually, when I was as I was doing cross country, I realized that sometimes the parking area can get in the way of your stitching, because depends on where you're parking, you might run into the park threads from time to time. And I think it was at that point I started to kind of experiment with no parking. It was a big thing for me, because, you know, parking had been, in my mind, the solution, the best solution for full coverage. Because it makes a lot of sense, and it's orderly, right? So no parking for me, it took me a little while to get used to in my mind, because I was thinking in my mind that, you know, does that mean I have to end my thread every single time? And at what point do I end my thread and stop stitching? Okay, so, and so it took me a little while to kind of learn that and feel comfortable with it. And I think, so the area, so with a single piece, very often I'll switch stitching method back and forth, and you know, so, and this piece, there's no exception there. I was probably moving back and forth with block by block, or cross country, parking, no parking, etc. But guys, okay, a word of warning, because you might look at this pattern and go, this is gorgeous, and let me go and grab it, okay? I would say go for it, go for it. But at the same time, having stitched quite a few pieces of full coverage, okay, to be honest, all my full coverage, other than Gecko Rouge, probably they're all from Heaven and Earth. This is probably the most confetti pattern project I have. Seriously, seriously, confetti. Even with the walls, this is max colors, okay? So if you get regular colors, maybe it's a different story. Or maybe if you get supersize, sort of max colors, the colors are more spread out for, you know, within more stitches. Mathematically, it should be less confetti. But if you get regular size, max colors, just brace yourself, brace yourself. This is an extremely confetti area and relentless as well. Sometimes when you have a pattern, you might have very confetti area at one place, and then you have, you know, you can take a break in other areas. I would say this piece, there's no break. Wherever you turn, it's confettis everywhere. So if you ever want to go into the this version of this piece, and just have that, you know, have that sort of mental preparation there. Do a little bit of stretching and warm up, okay, and just be ready for a little bit of you know, confetti party there. I remember stitching this bit, okay, the worst part, most brutal part, not worse, okay. I choose full color, you know, max colors, because I'm ready for the challenge. But some parts, they're so brutal, you know, it might put you off from stitching it, okay? And I'm showing you that part that made me want, you know, I had to take a break from this piece. It was here. No kidding. It looks harmless, and it's really pretty. And so this is basically part of the wall. It's basically just pictures on a wall. There's three strips here. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, but relentless. I remember, so I think up to the point I took a break from this piece, okay, when I hit another wall, was I went diagonally around here, probably, somewhere here, when I was still following, let me zoom out a little bit more. And I was, let me see if I could take a ruler here. I just want to block her. I was still following the kind of diagonal direction a bit more faithfully. I was probably somewhere here. So a little bit of the second part of the wall here, bit of the ceiling, maybe not as much, somewhere here. And the reason I had to take a break was because of these teacups on the wall there. Seriously, no kidding. I was like, it was sheer willpower that I got through it. This bit. Okay, so if you're getting this pattern, okay, just brace yourself for this part. And to be honest, all three panels here, they're extremely confetti. You can tell that some stitches here I still have not got the courage to go back and fill in, and because it's just confetti. A lot of ninja stitches, just single stitch, just there for no particular reason, just one stitch and then another one just like that. Okay, it happens from time to time with max colors, but this piece is relentless, relentless. Even the stripy wall here is a blend of many colors. So just so you know, so when I get to this bit, I just couldn't do it anymore. I needed a break. I needed a break. And so in order to cure, in order to cure the fatigue I've got in this piece, okay? And also, even though I wasn't stitching on this piece every day, I think during this piece, I was trying to find my way back to the Gecko Rouge just stitching a little bit at a time. But I had this one to play with, okay? So it wasn't as bad. And from that point, I realized that I cannot just nose dive in to a project because I love it, because eventually you're going to hate it. But still, because of the stitching method, essentially, I was looking at a very similar view for a pretty long period of time. I can't remember how long it took for me to get here. Probably another 6 months, 5-6 months. And, you know, it doesn't matter how you frame your piece, you're looking at a very similar view all the time. And that's why from time to time, now I know. At that time, I didn't. I was using Q-snaps, which, you know, so I could see majority of the area I'm stitching. But now, in order to prevent visual fatigue, now I know. Sometimes I just use a smaller frame, just really change the size of the frame. So you get to see only the part you're stitching. So you can kind of take a break from looking at the remaining part of it, just so visually, you know, you don't get sick of it. And but once I got to this part, I just couldn't do it anymore. So I had to take a break. And in order to remedy the fatigue, I decided to start a new one. Why not? Right? If you want to fix a problem, you just start another potential problem. No, they're not problems. They're the joy of my life. So I want to move on to the next piece that I discover. Okay. So in order to cure, I think it feels like, you know, sometimes when you have a kind of symptom of something and you take a medicine, but the medicine has other side effects. So you're just creating more different symptoms. You fix one, you create the other one. Not at all. Okay, so from this point, in order to recover from the confetti, heaven or hell, you know, you decide. I think at this point, I probably had this pattern already, but I decided to stitch it. Okay. It was this one. So this is, let me just have a look. Move up a little bit. Okay. So this piece, oops. Is slightly offset. Hang on, let me just move this one. Yes, I want to move this one up a little bit so you can see the whole thing. This is, again, Amy Stewart, and this piece is called Vintage Baker. And the reason I chose it as a kind of a remedy to cure my my you know, fear of confetti at that time, to recover from the confetti party, was this is actually a regular size, the regular color. And the regular color was not so much by choice, because when I found this pattern, there wasn't a max color version. I don't know, maybe there is one now. There's no super size, I don't believe. There's a regular size, regular colors. And this one is called Vintage Baker. And I decided to start because there's a delicious, I love stitching food and cozy stuff. And there's a, you know, cherry pie waiting for me, and all the really whimsical accessories there. And it's quite a change. And because, you know, this is a non-max color version, there's a regular color, so 90 we're talking about. And so I thought, well, it might be a nice rest, you know, from the confetti party that I've been having. So this is what happens here. Okay, let me put it aside. And this piece, surprisingly, in terms of width, this is probably the furthest I have gone with my full coverage piece. So look at this. Okay. Not too bad, is it? Look. Let me zoom out a little bit more here, so you can, hopefully you can see the whole thing. Lizzie says, I think that's the one will make me hungry. I know. It's so nice. And the pie looks so realistic as well. But I just want to move it all the way through so you can see how far I've gone. That's all the way there. That's quite nice, isn't it? I don't think I have any other piece that I have gone this far down to the right. Right? This is really, really nice. So again, of course, I started from upper left. And I cannot remember for sure, but wouldn't surprise me. I was doing block by block parking. Look at how realistic this piece looks. Oh, gorgeous. If you love baking, you know, this is the piece for you. Hello, Catherine. Welcome. And all of you that just joined me. And welcome. And yes, so I was lured by, you know, the gorgeous cherry and the jam here. And I remember moving from the left here. And, you know, the pie looks delicious, but there's quite a large area of the pastry, a lot of browns, and very similar color. So I couldn't wait, you know me. And I always try to find ways to introduce changes and varieties. So I think what I did was I went for a diagonal-ish, okay? But I was very keen to move to the right. So, and you can see it's kind of mini cross-country. So this is what I'm talking about, where there's no parking. I think I was going back and forth with parking for a little bit, as usual. But eventually, I felt quite happy doing mini cross-country here. And so that's how mini it is. I basically just flow away from the edges a little bit and keep going back and pick another color. And so I don't end up with too many loose stitches to having to go back to. Okay. And so, you know, you can see this is a little bit different from my more recent approach with certain pieces that I go much further away. And now I feel comfortable. I think I have to blame Nikki. I don't know if Nikki is here in the chat, but I think watching her stitching, she's an extreme cross-country athlete, okay? So she goes really far, and I found that fascinating. The reason I don't want to flow too far is that because I was scared, to be honest. If I go too far, first of all, I don't know what direction I should be going, and also I was just worried that I was going to count everything wrong. And if you go too further down, you know, it's just so much harder to fix. So I was going quite sort of mini cross country, which I think is quite sensible if you start cross country. And I still remember vividly, you know, we're talking about 2023 still. In London, we're still in lockdown. We had 3 waves of lockdown, months at a time. And I remember stitching this piece, and I was watching a lot of documentaries as usual. And I have vivid memory of this sort of timer, kitchen timer, because I was stitching it in a slightly different way. So as I said, I was doing mini cross country, just flow the stitches out. But with this timer, for some reason, I want to focus on the object itself rather than just stitching it as part of everything, right? I wanted to focus on this timer. So I did kind of color completion within this this area, within this circle. And I remember because I never done it before, and I kind of learn my way as I go. And try to figure out how to do it properly, because I should be showing you the back as well. It probably makes sense here. So this is the back of the piece, okay? The back stitching party, no, it's the back of the stitches. So with these ones, you can see this is what happens when you do mini cross country. There's some more confetti area, maybe there's some, you know, floating stitches. But here, there are a lot more because I was taking my threads, basically trying to complete. Maybe I'm trying to think, maybe not color complete as one single color within, and complete all of them, but I was going much further. I was stitching until my thread ran out, which for me was a lot further, in terms of distance than I ever did before. So you can see the pattern, there's a little bit more build up here, at the back here, but not too bad. It's still within acceptable range. And also this is a regular color piece. So it's, if you stitch something like little cake shop, Max Colors, and stitch this piece, it feels like child's play, really. It feels really relaxing because you can stitch the same color, every time you pick up a color, you rarely come across ones that's just one stitch. Very rarely. Occasionally, but it's a lot more relaxed. And I just kept going. I was just loving this piece, and look at this, gorgeous actually. I think this piece is really underrated because not many people do work on this piece as far as I know, and but it's so pretty. Look at this, the rising sun pattern and all the goodies, and I think this is a tea bag or something like that. And some very, very pretty colors. And yeah, so I cannot remember for sure how long it took me to do this whole lot, but I remember I was at this point, I have the grandma's piece. I've got Little Cake Shop, and I've got this piece, and also Gecko Rouge as well. So I was able to kind of switch back and forth and try not to get to the point of me feeling really sick of it. So I think for me, that was the point. What I learned from it, particularly from Gecko Rouge, is doesn't matter how much you love a piece, just give it some breathing space. Give it some breathing space. It's like relationship, isn't it? Even if you, I like Mr. Yogi, but if I see him 24 hours a day, all day long, I'm going to get really sick. And the feeling's probably mutual. So it's probably good to have a little bit of a breathing space and give, it's nice to miss, the project and go, oh, I cannot wait to go back. So this piece is also amongst the other ones. I have kind of not stitching this piece for a little while, just really focus on other pieces that I want to do. But, from time to time, I'll miss it, I'll come back to it, and it's always fun to stitch, and I remember just not very long ago, I was trying to stitch this baker lady as well. This is really, really fun, really, really fun. And I was trying to park. So, so it's a mixture of methods up to this point. Okay. So by this point, I think it was probably towards the end of 2023, and I'm trying to look up the date of the next pattern I'm going to show you. I'm trying to have a look. What date was it when I got this one? Oh, okay, it makes sense. Okay, so I think we're talking about the end of 2023. Okay, so in the beginning of the year, I started with Gecko Rouge, nose down, dived into it and got really, really sick of it. Tried to recover with Little Cake Shop here. Okay, and then got sick of it and switched to this one, restart. So I was stitching probably cycling through these pieces. Hang on, just let me take a sip of my water here. All right then, and I've got a coffee as well, I forgot. Let me just take a sip, warm drink. And so by the ends, the next pattern about to show you, I actually got it at the end of 2023. I think I just looked up the date. It was December of 2003. And to be honest, at this point, I wasn't planning to start a new project because I've got, at least four full coverage to keep me very, very busy. And all of them are 25 counts and, 1/1. But when I saw the next pattern, oh, I lost my mind. Okay, I'm going to show you what the next pattern is. And you're probably familiar with it as well because you see me stitching this piece. There. Again, Amy Stewart. Okay. So by this point, I was a big fan of Amy Stewart. Prior to the Gecko Rouge, prior to full coverage stitching, to be honest, I never tried to look up artist name. I had no awareness. All I care about was whether I like the pattern, and will I be having fun stitching it. So that was my only concern. And but at this point, I was very aware of Amy Stewart, and I was actively browsing her patterns here. So when I saw this piece, okay, I think it was released at the same time, I'm pretty sure, at the same time as the Magic Mushroom Village, I think. Some of you are stitching that one as well. They were released on the same day because I remember looking at Komari's. Looking at the Komari's, you guys know Komari's, the floss tuber. She was very interested in the mushroom, the magic, is it called Mushroom Village, whatever, the piece. But my eyes were locked on this one. They were released on the same date. But I did not get it right away because I was waiting for the max colors. And I didn't know when, and I didn't know you could request it. I think I probably just would have waited because I was thinking at some point they're going to release the max colors. So from the point of the release of this piece, I was just so looking forward to someone somewhere is going to, or I thought it was heaven and earth, they're going to just automatically release the max colors. And lo and behold, within, I think I had to wait for a month. And I was, I was dying for the max colors. But I was patient at the same time because I had a few, big projects for me to get busy with. And so I was trying to occupy my mind while waiting for this piece. And finally, I'm looking at the date here. The date I bought this pattern was 21st of December. So we're talking Christmas time, 21st December. And finally, they released the max colors. And I think the village, the mushroom piece got released at the same time. So both of them. And at the same time, I remember there was a sale as well. So I was so happy. I rushed over and got it right away, and also started it right away because a lot of times when I get a pattern, I kind of just leave it there, have the intention of working on it at some point, but not right away. But this one, to be honest, I couldn't wait. Just look at that, the kitties, all the textile, the items in the room, and it didn't strike me as Christmassy. But looking at it, you can tell there's a, reindeer, there's a snow cabin, and it's quite Christmassy actually, but not in a, conventional way. So here we are. So this is what I've got with this piece. Okay. Absolutely gorgeous. And this piece, okay, and this piece, I didn't go for the upper left corner start. Look at this pattern here. If I went for upper left, it's going to take centuries before I get to the kitties. I had to get to the kitties. And also I was so looking forward to stitching the cushion, and also the crochet little cushion on the left as well, which I haven't got to. And so in order to get to the kitty, I had to do a kitty start. Okay, so I dive straight in from the center there. And I think this might be the first piece there. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see. I think you can tell that I was following the page border here. I was using pattern keeper at that time. And so I think this area is the maybe page 1, somewhere here, or maybe here, maybe a bit smaller. But I dive straight into the kitty, okay, right from the center. I'm really grateful that kitty is right in the center. If it's in the kind of, slightly offset area, it's going to take me a while. So I dive straight in here, and I remember stitching quite a lot of the snowy area, which is, can be a little bit confetti, but not nearly as bad. Not nearly as bad as the Little Cake Shop, because once you've done Little Cake Shop, everything, all the confetti seems quite easygoing. And so the kitty part of it, yes, there was a fair bit of color changes here, but I was quite determined to stitch the kitty here and starting filling in the background as well. So at that time, I think I was following the page border on the left here, but my plan was to just keep going organically. And also I drew a line at the bottom as well. So I have some sort of boundary. It's not just endless, flowing away, because I was starting from the center, which is kind of different from the other full coverage I've got. So I have to kind of, have a certain border there to keep everything in order. And I remember with this piece, I don't think I ever parked with this piece. It's very interesting. I think I went in with mini cross country through and through. I don't think I ever parked with this piece, which is curious. And Heather says, but is it reindeer or a funny looking dog? Well, that would be a very strange looking dog. I remember having discussions with the chat. Okay, some of you are probably in those discussions as well. So there's some heated debate on whether this is reindeer or is it an elk or a moose. Not that I know any difference. I'm a city girl. I can barely tell the difference between a pigeon from something else, from a crow or something. But I think we officially has been certified as reindeer. Okay, so this is a very Christmassy piece, and some snow here. So I kind of try to fill in. I think I did pretty well actually. I probably have a lot more patience than now, and now I just want to I take more liberty in terms of, which direction I go. But up to this point, I was doing very measured mini cross country here. But I'm really happy to have completed most of the kitty here. Okay, so the page border actually cut off at this point. So this bit came a little bit later. But, I think what happened was initially I had the page border here. And, I done the kitty and started to move to the right here and found the big cushion, which is really exciting. And, it's taken me a little bit to go this far with the cushion, but you can tell it's absolutely beautiful. If you have this piece, okay, I really, really recommend Max Colors. Max Colors. You really want those details, and maybe a super size as well. Because I think what I love about this piece is all the items here, the fabric, the textile, the colors, and I want to show you, hang on, give me a little sec. Just clear my throat there. A little bit of frog in my throat there. I just want to show you the details of this chart. It's beautiful. Probably, I think it captures so much details because in terms of the real estate, the actual space this cushion takes is actually quite large. It's bigger than a cat, seriously. So it's got enough space and real estate to capture all the details. But you can see this is like you're literally looking at the real cushion, because not only that you can see the puffiness of each patch, right, and also the seams in between. If you do sewing at all, you know, you sometimes have you sew around these square patches to create more definition, and it's all captured within the chart as well. It's beautifully charted, and each block here, each square here is so fun to stitch. And I feel like I'm making a cushion, really. And Lona, hello Lona, welcome. And oh, Suzanne says, I want to do this one at some point. Suzanne, go for the max colors, okay? Go for the max colors. It's worth it. It's worth it. And this is probably one of the charts, okay? Then I'm biased, I know. Maybe not the mini, okay? Because I can imagine with mini, you probably lose all the details here, and the kitties, you know, the face. I remember stitching this face. To be honest, I was panicking a little bit because I was doing mini cross country, right? And I was just trying to fill in the colors up to the point that I have these 2 brown dots here. I seriously wonder if it's going to come out looking like a cat. Because when you fill in stitches like that, not stitching in order, row by row, for instance, or gemma stitches, then you can see instantly, you see the eyes. I think I didn't get to fill in those little dog eye bits stitches till later. And until that happened, I just wasn't sure it even looked like a cat. It's such a magic. I mean, cross stitching is magic, because sometimes you feel like you're just doing random stitches, and once it's completed, suddenly everything makes sense. So it was a little bit of like that. So I was quite relieved once I completed the face. I go, yes, it looks like a cat. It looks like a cat. Yeah. So this is where I am with this point. Let me zoom out a little bit more. And my plan with this project, because I'm starting from the center, I have the liberty to go any direction, really. And I think my plan is to maybe finish the cushion here. It's got a little bit to go. And then I'm just looking at the chart here, okay? I think the next part, I might come back to the left here, because there were a few sessions I was actually coming to the left instead and try to start to work on the second kitty. So if I show you one more time, you can tell there's a tabby next to the ginger cat looking out the window, and really cute as well. And the reason I want to start to maybe move to the left gradually is for the kitty, of course, but also so I can get to the crochet round cushion there. I want to stitch our cushion so bad, you wouldn't believe it. And so it makes sense for me to maybe change around, maybe do a little bit of this big cushion from time to time, and then start to move to the left, so the round cushion is somewhere here, so I can get to it. It's not too far away. It's not too far away. So this is one of the pieces that it just screaming center star for me. I could not wait. So, and yeah, so this would take me down to 224 in the beginning, because I got this piece around Christmas time, started stitching it across Christmas and New Year, and I keep going along with the other pieces. And maybe up to, I'm trying to think, maybe spring, summertime. And I didn't add any new patterns, I don't think. And so for today's session, I want to maybe park around here, but I want to give you a little bit of a, hint of what next session is going to capture, because by around maybe summertime of 2024. Okay, so I started this one the end of 2023, stitch along with the other pieces, and I think by this point I have recovered partially from the Gecko Rouge trauma, and I was stitching that piece as well. So I was moving, I was cycling these pieces sensibly, and at that point maybe up to 2024 springtime. But then just little hint there, I stopped stitching from that point maybe for I want to say, looking back, maybe 5-6 months. I don't think I stitched anything for 6 months. So the next session, I don't know when it is, past 3, I'm going to tell you why that is, okay? So with this piece, I think, I was stitching quite actively up to 2024 summertime or springtime. And then I stopped stitching for about 6 months. Dun, dun, dun. So I'll leave that cliffhanger with you, okay? So I think I'm going to conclude this session here, and next session I'm going to tell you why I stopped stitching for about 6 months and what happened after that. Okay, so I want to come to you, and if you have questions, I'm so happy that you're here with me, and we're doing this out together. Okay, so I'm just looking at the time here. If you have a question now, you can fire away, and I'll do my best. And just now it's 6:30, so if we take a break, okay, for about an hour, it's nice that we have a bit of time to play with. Maybe if we come back about in an hour's time for our saw, we can start a little bit early just to make up yesterday. we didn't get to stitch together yesterday, and so we can come back in about an hour's time. Just let me look at the chat. Fibonacci, great name, says finally caught your stream today, well done. Yes, and do not worry if you miss the beginning of the session, it's archived, okay, so you can go catch up. And Fibonacci says, is that cozy winter nook? The pattern is on my wish list. Go for it. Really? Yes, this is the winter reading nook. And even though it's got a slight kind of Christmas theme, but it's good to stitch all year round, because it's really just a cozy room to read, really, as the title suggests, and it's got all sorts of things going on there. And I think once I let me just show you the pattern here. Once I kind of get to the cushions and get that out of my system, I will be probably have more patience to stitch a little bit of the sky, the background there. A little cabin here, there is not that far away either, and a campfire. I find generally, probably many of you as well, lighter colors and those are background type of, areas, a little bit more challenging to stitch, because there's the boredom factor there, and particularly if you look up toward the left there's the nice sky there with the color changes there. It's gonna there's quite a large area of sky there waiting for me, so I have to come up with a sensible sort of strategy to do that. But imagine if I go from top to bottom, left to right, I'll probably give up stitching, because I'll be thinking I want to stitch those cushions, I want to stitch the kitties, but now I've got the kitties, I'm in the kitty area and flowing out. I think I would be a lot more patient, you know, going out there. Suzanne says, except me, I love sky stitching. Yes, yes. I think Suzanne is kind of recovering from the last piece, the haze sour piece. Okay, so guys, I am going to just say bye-bye to you for this session. Okay, I'm going to park it here, and let me know if you don't have questions. Then we will meet in about an hour's time. So look to the channel page. I will release the streaming schedule there, and it should be around an hour's time. Now it's 6:30 in the UK, so we can get together around 7:30. How does that sound? So guys, I will see you in an hour's time. Okay, Yogi signing out, and we'll be back. Bye bye. See you later.